Hello everyone, welcome to the preview for the semi-final, Manchester United versus Athletic Club, Athletic Bilbao, whatever you want to call it. It is away at the Estadio de San Mamés, I think that's how you pronounce it. We come up against the fourth best team in Spain, the best defensive record in Spain, and a very experienced manager in Valverde. However, Shreyas, we are still unbeaten in Europe, so does that end on Thursday night, do you think?
Again, it's a Spanish side, and especially in a semi-finals, we haven't really had that much of a decent record, especially when it comes to the deeper stages of the tournament, when it comes to Spanish teams. So they do have that, I would say, I think history definitely favors them. And in recent history, United has struggled in this sort of department. But I think we'll still put up a good fight. I don't expect us to lose. I think we'll take a draw. Most likely, I think it will be a draw and we'll take it back to Old Trafford. Whether we win or lose is a different question there. But I think moving away, it will be a much, I would say, relatively easier for us to turn up, because I think at Old Trafford, the number of times that we've been let down this season has been immensely more in comparison to us actually going to away stadiums. So I expect us to turn up, and luckily enough, you've got someone like Casemiro who's spent a majority of his season actually playing in the Spanish league. So he knows exactly, how a team like Bilbao would be turning up. He's played against Ernesto Valverde countless of times. So he knows how, the way Bilbao would set up and what are the key aspects where, we need.
Someone's calling him.
Yeah.
Always most inconvenient times, isn't it, when it seems to happen?
Every single time.
Every time.
Yeah, but apart from that, I think overall, I'm quite happy that we are going to the away ground first. If the first leg would have been at Old Trafford and then we would have been going away to their stadium, I would be a lot more worried.
Yeah, I agree with that. Of course, we was away on Sunday, but we didn't manage to come away with the 3 points. But I'd imagine you'd probably take a similar result. If you take a draw away from Bilbao Stadium, I'd be quite happy with that. But the only reason why we got that draw was because we only came to life after Bournemouth went down to 10 men, right? So I suppose one message you would say to the players and the coaches going into this one is you cannot start sluggish in this game, can you? Just simply because of what they're like in the stadium and how they start in games. What are your expectations for that? Because in Europe, you look at Lyon, the game that we went there, did he score the first 20 minutes, I think it was?
Yeah.
So there is that worry, isn't there? There's that cloud over us that I just feel going into this game.
I just think that, even when we've had decent performances, we've managed to actually concede goals. One way or another, the opposition always ends up, getting a goal and scoring in the back of the net against us, whether it's through Onana, whether it's through something else. But we are quite leaky at the back, for sure. I think the other thing about it is, especially, what I saw against Bournemouth, they were aggressive from the get-go. And I think every single United fan expected them to be aggressive from the get-go. And I think the same would be with Bilbao. At their home stadium, they would like to impose as much physicality and as much threat as they possibly can within the first 20-25 minutes, get an early goal, pin United in their own half. I still think against Bournemouth, we created so many chances in that second half. We created so many opportunities. But
was that because they went down to 10 men, though? Why we created those chances?
I think even before they went down to 10 men, there were a couple of very good chances that we created. But the lack of clinical edge, the lack of, I would say, accuracy, and I would even say the lack of confidence that we've got right now in that attacking line, it creates numerous problems for us when we're moving the ball into the attacking third. Against Bournemouth, in that second half, I saw countless moments where Bruno was able to win the ball. He's trying to ping the ball in, but there's genuinely no one around in that attacking area for, that through ball to actually go through and us to actually capitalize on Bournemouth trying to play a high line and trying to pin us in our own half. So against Bilbao, again, they're a bit similar to Bournemouth, but the quality is completely different. When you look at their midfield, you look at their attack, you look at their defense, even I would say their goalkeeper, all of those departments, they're much, much superior if you have to compare them to Bournemouth. So if you allow them to grow into the game within the first 20-25 minutes, especially at their home stadium, and they manage to get a goal or two, it's going to be much, much more difficult than Leon to, claw your way back into the game.
I'm interested actually in terms of what players he had in mind preparation-wise for Thursday night, to see who he's like, kind of explore that question in itself, that who are the 3 players who absolutely have to start on Thursday night? Who are the key components in that team, you think? Because you touched on Casemiro, for example, before. He would probably be one of them, right? Who else would you want to definitely see in that starting lineup?
I think Casemiro is a nailed-on starter, and there's genuinely no debate. You need his experience, and he's the only one who's actually got an assessment on Bilbao and how to counter them and how to actually get a result against them. Bruno is definitely going to be another person nailed on starter. So they're 2 midfielders. They're genuinely going to be starting for you. You've got no other option but to start them. I think the third person for me who would actually, I would say I'd really want him to start is, it's a toss up between Lenny Yoro or if he's available, De Ligt. Because I think with De Ligt, the strongest feeling that I have for him is because, it's a European night. You need someone with experience. De Ligt has played at the highest levels. And again, he's been solid at the back.
I'm just not sure how fit he is, though. That's the only thing with it.
I think we will really miss him in this game. Especially against the type of attackers that, Bilbao has got to offer. I think De Ligt being in that as that centerpiece would be a lot more assuring for us.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
But apart from that, I would want Euro to start. I think Euro has been immense for us the past few weeks, and especially in his last European game against Lyon as well. I think he was absolutely brilliant.
You think about defending those sides as well, those flanks, Inaki and Nico. It's going to be very, very important. So we need players to step up in that role. Just before we expand on the point and a couple of other things, there's loads of you joining the chat, which is really nice to see. So please do, first and foremost, smash a like on the video and get your thoughts in on this game. I really want to gauge the opinion and consensus going into this one, how we're feeling, if you think United can do the job or if you're worried, like myself, because I think it's going to be a really, really tricky game. Random guy in the chat saying, I'm not sure if I said this or not, but I'm confident that Leon had the best, most dynamic attack in the tournament, so we can handle their attack. We just have to put the ball in the back of the net. But we say that, but that's what we've been struggling to do all season, isn't it? Putting the ball in the back of the net. So I'm saying, Nick, are we forgetting something? We are. I know Shreyas said it. It was literally like the first time I've seen you in months without him on, and you're referring to these bad boys. Yeah, just for today's stream, just because I've had him on literally since 9 o'clock this morning, working because I work from home. I just need to take them off. I want some freedom. I want to, just kind of call it whatever you want. I was most worried of Nico and Sansei, but it seems they're going to miss the game, if not both legs, due to injury. No, Sansei, I'll get to that a little bit later, but I think Nico Williams is going to be available for it, but Sansei is going to be out. But yeah,
I think he's going to be back for the second leg. He's back for the second leg from what I've heard.
Yeah.
But the first one, Nico is going to start. Nico Williams will be
available, yeah. He's
and
been
again,
minutes.
They can actually, what I think, I saw it the other day as well. They sometimes mold it around with Iñaki playing at the 10, then Berenguer shifting to the right. So they've got a very good forward line, honestly. And the depth they've got, I think, Ojan Sunset is a brilliant player for them. And he's been clutch for him, for them this season, one of their top scorers. But they know how to actually, fit around players when they are not available. And Valverde has been incredible the past couple of seasons, I would say, in that Spanish league.
Yeah. So as always with these kind of teams, I always go back and look at the past couple of games just to see, and just the season overall in general. Obviously, I'm not going to go back and watch every single game from the season, but just like standout games, kind of the weaknesses and strengths and where they are weaker. And one of the things that stood out to me was statistically, and you would say this with a lot of teams, right? But they are a lot more vulnerable in the last 15 minutes of a game. Yeah. That's where they concede most of their goals, and we do have a habit for scoring late goals in Europe. So do you see a repeated pattern in that sense where, let's say we go to Bilbao, I don't know what you put in there. Let's say you lose 1-0 or we draw 1-1. You take it back to Old Trafford next week, is it? The next leg, I'd imagine, the next leg. Do you see a similar thing happening there? Or do you think Bilbao are too good defensively?
I think, again, their defense is a bit leaky, but I think whenever they've got Vivian in that back line because of his recovery pace, just like, the way we've got with Euro, they look a lot more composed because Valverde plays a high line no matter, what kind of personnel he's got left at the club. So I think if Vivian is going to be playing there, would be a lot more difficult for us. And if he plays there, Hoyland is going to have trouble for the entire 90 because again, he's a very physical centre back, and I can already see Hoyland and them, wrestling the entire 90.
Yeah, I
So
agree with that.
there's definitely that, but again, Rangers actually put a very good fight against them in the in the first leg. It was quite close. They went down to 10 men and they still held them to a 0-0 draw. So I'm not going to say that Bilbao are a completely unbeatable team. I think if you're properly organized and if you're actually able to take a majority of your opportunities, because they will make mistakes. Every team that plays a Highline ends up making at least 2 mistakes per game. It's a characteristic of this style.
On them.
Exactly. If we capitalize on it, good for us. If we don't capitalize on it, they're just going to try and pin us in our own half. Because possession-wise as well, they're a very decent side. So you need to be at it when you're playing against Bilbao. And especially when their home stadium and I would say, their fan base as well, it's not an easy environment to play in. So if you can disrupt their rhythm and take away absolutely every single point of momentum in that game, slow the game down completely. I think that's when United will be able to actually dictate the pace of the game.
I just want to go there with the performance, and I have no shame in saying this. Just keeping it tight, like you say. Really, if you want to go down the Newcastle route, where they kind of stretch the game and take your time with your throw-ins and make it a bit of a physical matchup, even though we don't really have physical players. But that's the route I would go. Just really stink out the place when you go to Bilbao Stadium and take the 0-0, take the 1-1. Because when you go back to Old Trafford, no doubt in my mind, one, the performance will improve, and two, just look at the moments we've had, like when Sociedad came to Old Trafford, battered them 4-1. When Lyon came, I know it was dodgy, but we did end up winning in the end, and we're still unbeaten in Europe. So there are things I think you can hold on to at the minute going into this game and take some positive, some kind of positives from. But I'm interested to see if we manage to get past Bilbao and we get Tottenham.
How do you feel our chances are? How do you feel
in the final? Well, I was going to ask you the same question. Just as like a comparison of both fixtures, do you think we'd have more of a chance against Bilbao over 2 legs or Tottenham in a final?
Tottenham in a final.
You think? Why?
It's in their blood.
You say that, but they've beaten us. They've beaten us 3 times this season.
That's why I'm saying, because they've beaten us 3 times this season, it makes a lot of sense for them to beat us the 4th time. And that's when United strikes you. Every single time, that's when United strikes you. So actually, and I'm being serious, I would rather want us to play Spurs in the final than Bodo Glimt. Because a complete underdog against this Manchester United 11, that's not a, team that I would want to face.
It's a weird dynamic because I think Athletic Club are a better team than us and Spurs. They're the best team left in the competition now, hands down. So if you get past them, you'd like to think, okay, well, if we've just beat the best team that are left, surely we go on and win it. But I just think Spurs, and I don't know what it is. It's like an inner feeling where I'm just like, I really don't want to play them in the final because I think they will, because they have attacking players who are really, really good, and when they turn it on and they attack sense. Yeah, and they've got players back, and Van der Ven, and I know they've been shit. I know they've been dog shit in the league, and I get that. I don't know. There's something inside me. I don't trust us to go and beat Spurs in the final. But we've got to get past the semis, so I'm going to be an absolute nervous wreck when we play, if we play them, should I say, in the final. ELT saying, I feel that we're more defensively solid, except for self-inflicted mistakes trying to play out from the back, and our finishing up front is shocking. If we could solve these 2 things, then Europa is ours. They're 2 big things, though, aren't they, Shreyas?
We can't play out the back today, against Bilbao. We honestly can't. If you try to play out the back, because again, if they win the ball back in the attacking third, we've got no chance of catching Nico Williams on the break.
Nah.
We've got no chance of catching Iñaki Williams on the break. That's a sure shot goal. Play it long, throw it out for corners or for throwouts, but don't allow them to actually, win the ball off you, because it's going to be very tough for us. Disrupt the game, rhythm of the game as much as you can and slow the game absolutely down.
Do you know one thing I noticed about them as well when I was watching them, just for this kind of research, around their box, the 18-yard box, they're so deadly. Like Sansei in particular. Do you know those players who just make the right decisions? You know when you watch Erdogan and Saka play and they always play the right pass, or they always like the perfect weight of pass or the timing of the run
They
around
know
that
where they're going to
area.
be.
They're so good.
The
They're so
chemistry in
good.
that front four that they've got, they know exactly where the other person is going to be. That's why it works so well.
Yeah, that's what worries me. Just for context, just some kind of previous results against Athletic Club, and some go back to like 1957, so you can't really take much from him. But we've played them 4 times, I believe, and only won once, which was in 1957. We lost when we played it back in March under Sir Alex Ferguson, I think it was. We lost 3-2 to Bilbao and lost 2-1 as well. So yeah, we don't have the best record, but then that's just kind of historically we don't.
What have
anyway
we done with good records?
No, yeah, that's what I mean. Foot records. I'm just going to stop mentioning them now. I mentioned at the start of the show with Bilbao, the defensive records super impressive. They've lost as many games as Madrid and Barca. In their last 10, they've only lost 1. They've conceded 26 in the league. And just for context, we've conceded nearly double that in the league, in the Premier League. They have the second most draws in the league as well, with 12. So there's a lot of 1-1s, a lot of 0-0s in there. And like we said before, we would absolutely take a 0-0 or a 1-1 at their stadium, going back to Old Trafford, no doubt.
Yeah.
Me and Shreyas already spoke about, no doubt about it, Sansei, Nico Williams, they are their major threats. Sansei's out. Nico Williams. It's going to be interesting. Who do you think is going to be on that side, or who, in your mind, is best dealing with that threat? Do you think?
Euro and Delict. I think if you have Euro as well as Delict in your team, I think Iñaki and Nico, both of the Williams brothers, can be locked down. I think Euro has been exceptionally well in the past few weeks, and he did quite well, decent against Cherki, against the like of Almada, Mikutadze as well, even, and all 3 of them are trouble creators, very agile, very mobile, and unpredictable players in the attacking third. So I think with Nico Williams, you do understand that, he's more direct in his approach. Iñaki Williams is a bit more, I would say, unpredictable, but Nico is still quite direct in his approach. So if you can actually, double them down, and I expect it to happen, he's going to put, Amram is going to put Mazraoui as well as Zero on one side to just, completely shut down that flank. And apart from that, they've got someone called Pratos in their midfield, who's a very, very good 6. So Casemiro is going to have his hands full as well against that midfield.
Yeah. Do you think they'll be nervous for this, or do you think they'll be confident?
You never know with this team.
I don't mean United. I mean Bilbao. Sorry.
Yeah, they would be nervous.
I think
because again, they don't know who's going to turn up today. Is it going to be United from this season or 2008 United? You actually got no idea. I still know that Leon never saw it coming. What actually happened in the last 10 minutes of the game? They still don't understand what actually happened. Yeah. So, and the thing is, you can never count United out of a fixture. You genuinely cannot. If you allow them to, claw their way back into again, that's why I'm saying if we are able to hold them to a draw like a 1-1, 2-2 again, and then take it back to Old Trafford, the numerics of the game completely change.
I don't think you're ever going to see a game like that Leon game in a long, long time.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Was you asleep for that game as well? Didn't you wake up? Or
I woke. I was.
Go on.
The first 2 games, the first 2 goals went in. I thought, okay, 1-1. Garte scored, then they scored, and then when I saw Lacazette score, I saw it. Okay, then it's done. I fell asleep. The TV was still on, and I heard Rio Ferdinand shouting.
Yeah.
I woke up again, and then I saw what was happening, and then Casemiro did that flick to Maguire, and he scored the winner.
Yeah, it was just honestly, like if that had been in a final, or I mean, that would go down in history probably as the greatest final ever.
That is probably one of the games of the season.
The game. I've challenged anyone to find a better. I remember, I don't know if it was last year or year before. Do you remember the Chelsea and Spurs game? Which was just, it was like, Ange was still playing a high line with like 9 men.
Yeah, 9
and
men.
It ended up being like 4-4 or something ridiculous. Like crazy games like that you don't see very often. And that last week or the week before, whenever it was just utter chaos. I was going to get tickets for that game as well. And someone offered me a ticket for like £100, I think it was. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do it. Because I was at the Sociedad game the game before. So I was like, I really want to go. But I'll just, And then at the end of it, I was like, that was worth every fucking penny of that. Like, oh my God. Incredible game. But anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Back to Bilbao. I wanted to ask you about... Oh, sorry, I wanted to touch on as well the fact that with the final being in Bilbao, that's like for us, the final being in Manchester. So they're going to have that extra gear, aren't they, to kind of step up into...
For sure. And Bruno actually, commented on it as well in the last game that, the final is going to be Bilbao, so they're going to be extra charged. They're going to be even... They're going to start the game in third gear because I think for any club, to win a European trophy at their home ground in the final is a completely different feeling and it's completely ecstatic.
Will it be at the home ground? Yeah. Their stadium?
Yeah.
Surely not. Surely they can't have their own stadium as in the final.
They have.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Because that's a home advantage, isn't it? It's just like, that'd be like, oh yeah, the final's at Old Trafford. You're like, okay. Yeah, bizarre one.
Wouldn't argue.
Yeah,
you wouldn't
craziness.
argue.
No, I definitely wouldn't. I think Bilbao are an interesting side, I think you look at their philosophy, what they do as a club, and I was looking into this before, it's called the Cantera policy, where they only recruit players who are either born in the Basque Country, or I think it's like northern Spain or southwestern France or something. I think it's like two areas where the only thing or if they've been developed at a Basque football academy as well, and they'll bring them through. What's your thoughts on that philosophy in today's modern games? Very interesting, isn't it?
Their academy is sensational.
Yeah.
For sure it is. Because if you not just this season, over the years, if you look at their team and the kind of talents that they've brought through, I think Ander Herrera was a part of Bilbao as well. People seem to forget. Aymeric Laporte.
He's got to be on punditry, Herrera as a pundit. Surely. A guy who's played for both teams. Like, that's just a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, and look, in fairness to them, to be able to compete with the likes of Barcelona, to be able to compete with the likes of Atleti as well as Real, with the kind of money all these clubs, actually spend every single window, it's not easy. Yeah. And they still managed to actually, stay in the fight, actually stay competitive in the top four, which is a big, big feat, I would say, considering their net spend is always zero. And apart from that, I think in modern football, to completely rely on your academy for your entire 11 as well as the bench is a very, very strong gamble. And for them, it's been paying off. That's why, they want 80 or 90 million for Nico Williams for a reason.
Yeah.
So...
Pure profit. It's like us selling Rashford, isn't it, basically?
Yeah, exactly. And the players have actually got, decent wages. I think Nico Williams is on like 200k a week. So they've got players on very good contracts. And because they've got nothing to actually spend on when it comes to the transfer window, they can actually, use that money on wages.
It is an interesting thing, isn't it? I think what you do get when players often come from like nearby towns or schools or academies, you have that bond with the fans as well, don't you? Because you see it as the players are representing you from where you're like, a player who's just literally from around the corner, and you get that kind of deep bond. So I get that side of it. I think you're not relying on excessive transfers either in today's game. You're nurturing talent. You're not just buying success. I think there's a lot of positives about it. I don't know how long you can. I mean, well, it's proven they can do it, but are you ever going to really reach the very top of football with that philosophy? That's the only thing I would suggest. But it'd be nice for a team to do that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and again, if United were able to rely on their academy that way and we were able to produce that sort of talent, it has been quite hit and miss for us when it comes to Carrington. The kind of players that have been pushed forward. I still remember, Tuanzebe came through, had a game against PSG, was absolutely amazing, and then you couldn't even see him in the team for like 6 to 8 months. And then eventually he got shipped out. So it's been quite hit and miss. Garnacho is still, I think the fan base is 50-50 on him. Kobe Mainoo is something completely different. Now we are actually seeing a lot more talents actually being introduced into the team. Harry Ama's actually getting a call up and he's looked quite good on the ball as well as a wing back. Fredrickson has amazed a lot of people, I would say, with his performances. We've signed Aiden Heaven off of Arsenal. We sent Chido from Arsenal, and both of them look quite serious as talent. So it's coming through. I think it's just a question of how much they can prosper within the first team with the opportunities they get. Because I think next season, Chido might actually get, shipped out on loan because we're obviously going to be getting a striker. So I think it would be better for him and a couple other talents as well to actually gain some minutes, stay match up, come back in the next season and actually make a case of the case for themselves to be a starter.
Like a championship club potentially, similar to what
Yeah.
we've done with Jimmy
Ahmad.
Garner and Ahmad as well. Yeah, was another one. Send him out on loan, and do you know what? I think there's a lot of clubs in the championship who would actually take him as a striker. I think 100% they would. So I'd probably agree with that. Although I do think it depends what happens with our striker situation, who we bring in.
Yeah.
Because it may be a case of, I don't know what they're going to spend. I don't know if they're going to go get Delap or Osman. I suppose that all depends on European football as well. So this summer's going to be fascinating. But I just thought, in kind of an era dominated by global scouting and billion-pound squads, it's interesting to see someone like Bilbao doing what they're doing. So I think Ineos are doing a good job so far with our youth as well. I think that's something that needs to be mentioned. Right, before we get into ones to watch, let me go to the comments section because there's quite a few. Temishen Deliso says United will win 3-1. It's very
He
positive.
scored 3 goals?
Yeah, it must not be a United fan. Charlie Malman, United have looked better and Spurs have just gotten worse and worse. Random saying, call me delusional, but we absolutely deserve to win against all of City, Wolves and Bournemouth. We are factually better than our results. XG is weird in it, Shreyas, because it's obviously expected goals, but it can fluctuate so much. Like, I don't know. I'm just...
To be very honest with you, I don't consider XG as a real merit or
weird,
as a real standard. Because, there are teams who actually play with that sort of game plan, stay back, get one chance, hit them on the counter and be done with it.
And Bournemouth, who went down to 10 men, the XG is going to improve significantly as well. And
Forest don't have a high XG.
I know that, and then
get decent results.
How much comes down to coaching a player's ability or just their ability in general to not finish a chance? Do you know what I mean? Like, how much of a technique, how much of positioning, how much of these kind of things can you really enforce on a player until they become that player who does start? Do you know, like XG, the percentages?
Yeah, and that's why I don't really credit XG as much. I just tend to look more at the shots that we have, the chances that we've actually created, and then the goals that we have actually managed to, pull through with. But with United, it has been shocking. Creating around 120 or 130 good chances, and we've only finished like 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah. It must be so frustrating for Amorim, like watching these players get into areas and creating good chances, and then like players like Garnacho who are just snatching at shots and he's banging it over the bar, or the pass is overhit or it's underhit, and you're just like, oh, fucking hell, man.
He honestly must be really missing Ahmad, even more than Amorim must be missing Ahmad.
so much. This is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like in relation to this game, if you can stink out the place, take a 0-0 draw, and we get Ahmad back for a second half of the game of 60 minutes or for an hour or whatever it is, that's going to be so important. It's such a game changer because I think Ahmad is that good, genuinely. I think he had a moment and a spell, and I touched on this yesterday on the news show that we did. He had a spell where he was being as effective as Bruno was, where he was doing something every game, or we expected something from every game. So I'm praying he can get back. But Bilbao probably saying the same thing with Sansei. They're like, I mean, if he's back for the second leg, he can make a difference as well. Yeah. Thoughts on what Scholes said about transfers? I haven't seen it, so if you can put the quote in. I've seen what he said about Cunha. But if you've run about something different, then put it in the chat and I'll go to it. But before we get into that, just do ones to watch Shreyas in this game. United and Athletic Bilbao, one player from each, please.
Casemiro. No, not Casemiro. Maguire to watch out for us.
Hey.
Again, what if he could, another set piece, he gets a goal.
I can almost hear like the Bilbao players laughing in the dressing room when he said Maguire, and a little bit like, oh, is that the biggest threat? And he's like, actually, he is, to be fair. Like, he is. When the last 10 minutes.
Ask Leon.
Yeah, exactly.
And solid. I would go with Maguire to watch out for us because, again, we're going to be defending for most of the game. So you would want Maguire to actually have another crazy outing. For them, Iñaki Williams would be the one who I'd be more worried about because he's not a direct winger. He knows exactly when to extend the width. He knows exactly when to cut in. And he has got some serious pace on him as well. So on the half turn, on the counter, you need to be, you genuinely can't afford to, fall asleep for even like 3 to 4 minutes in this game because Bilbao are that good that they will get a goal within that time period.
It's interesting that you mention Iñaki Williams because that's who I've put on mine as well. And he scored in their last game against Las Palmas.
Yeah.
It was a thing where he was cutting in from the right. He made that, there was runs that wing backs hate, where it's just like inverted in behind him.
Yeah.
Takes the touch and then scores for them, and they end up winning the goal 1-0. But both the brothers, right? Inaki and Nico. Are they brothers? William, I'm pretty sure they are. But both of them have 5 goals in the Europa League. So defending those areas, those wide flanks. Euro is someone I would watch as well in this game. I think he could have either a really good game or a really bad game. So huge game for him. Hopefully it's not a repeat of the thing that happened against Southampton when he was against... So, oh my God, he absolutely rinsed him. So fingers crossed. Quick fire question, Shreyas, and of course everyone else in the chat, whether you're watching this live or later on, please do get involved as well. Will we score at their stadium?
Yes.
Oh. I don't think we will. I
think we will.
Who is the best to deal with Nico Williams on that side? I kind of asked this question before, but like in terms of wing back and a centre back pairing, Maz and Euro, do you think are best to deal with him?
Yeah, Maz and Euro.
Yeah.
If De Ligt was fit, I would say Maz and De Ligt.
Yeah. Would you go there pragmatic as a coach, or would you go there and go for it?
Pragmatic. At their stadium, pragmatic.
And you can believe him. You can tell by his eyes the way he stretched them when he said it. Do you believe we can win this tie, genuinely?
Yeah.
Oh. It's interesting if we had like a lie detector on and it like beeps behind you and went boop.
I believe we can win. I'm not saying we will. We can.
But you have faith you can do it.
Yeah, we could do it. I didn't have faith against Lyon. But we still managed to pull through. I didn't have faith even before Lyon, and we managed to pull through.
I don't know if I've got that. I think Athletic Club might be that one step too much, just for the quality of the team that they are. But
That's the only reason why I think we might be able to do it, because the moment I see United against a top favourite, somehow things just click for us.
Somehow chaos erupts. There's a hurricane in the stadium, and then by the end of it, we end up winning it. We just do these things. And the last quick fire: who gets player of the match for you? Casemiro. Wow. Yeah. He's got some game then, I think. Remember Ten Hag target Brobber? Yeah, the next big thing, worth £10 million now, complete collapse. Wow. Yeah, do you remember him? Brian Brobber.
And they wanted 50 mil for him.
2 or 3, I think Williams failed the fitness test, so we will not be playing. If that's true, Charlie.
I hope so.
If that is true, tell me where you're getting that information from, because when I was looking through like Spanish journals and stuff about the team and updates, and they said Sante is going to miss the first leg, might be able to return for the second, but they said Nico Williams will be fit and available. So let me know where you're getting that information from. If it's more reliable than what I've seen, then I'll happily take it on board. But yeah, that'd be mega news for us if he isn't available. Right, Shreyas, should we do the starting or predicted 11s? Yeah. We've both gone with the same team, right? I'm pretty sure, but there was one kind of question mark. Let's start with that question mark. Luke Shaw at centre-back, left-sided centre-half. Is that a risk playing him again after he just played 90 minutes when he weren't supposed to against Bournemouth?
It is a risk, but I don't think Amorim actually has any other option but to play someone else, because Dalot is out, and as much as people actually feel he's not good enough, me being one of them, his availability does help us out a lot, because at least you can slot Mazraoui as a centre-back in there. Now that Dalot is out as well, you are at a loss for options, and I seriously doubt he's going to put Amas as a starter at an away stadium, especially against Bilbao. And against the like of Nico or Iñaki Williams, I really don't see it happening.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah.
I think Luke Shaw would be a safer approach, even if he picks up an injury by the 30 or 35th minute. At least you ride out the storm.
The speech to Luke Shaw before the game is just last an hour. If you can get through an hour, then we can bring on Amas or put Doggy to the right side, and we can tinker about. But please just start the game and see how you are after 45 minutes, what have you. I think it's a good plan. Yeah,
because even Fredrickson, I don't think is registered for the Europa League, so you don't have an option. But so you have to play Luke Shaw as a centre back. You have to play Maguire, and you have to play Lenny Yoro. I seriously wish De Ligt was available. I think he's going to be a serious miss in this game. But because of the lack of options, Shaw is going to have to start.
Even Ahmad as a wing back could be an option for us. Do you know what I mean? If Ahmad was available, you push him wing back.
You could counter them. That's how you could actually counter them from the wings.
Yeah, exactly. Get your thoughts in on that Shaw situation. Would you start him? or would you bring in someone else, if whoever that could ever be? Would you risk it with Amas? Just let us know. Dorgu, I didn't think had the best game Shreyas against Bournemouth. I thought he was very sloppy. You look at the first goal that we conceded, the way they pinched it off us, a little bit of lapse of concentration. His passing weren't the best. But when he first came in, he looked really, really good, didn't he? So do you think he's just kind of climatizing a little bit?
It would happen, especially when your team is performing that, so well. It does have an impact on a new signing. But again, he's the only option we've got, and at least with him starting, I do have that sort of belief that he's going to be aggressive in the game. He's not someone who's going to be extremely flaky, or Bilbao can completely run past him. He's going to be a problem. So I think for me, Dorgo has been much better off the right hand side in his performances, but I think you have to start him off the left today. You've got no other option but to. Mazraoui is going to start on the other side. We are going to have the best goalkeeper on the planet for us in net. I think Ugarte and Casemiro are going to start in the middle, and I think that's the safest approach to go. I think Casemiro has been immense in this new profile and new spot that he's got in that midfield, and Ugarte as well. Ball recoveries wise, and just for someone to completely lock down any sort of attack centrally, and to provide Maguire with that sort of shielding as well against pacey and those sort of agile attackers. You need Casemiro and Ugarte in that line. I think moving forward is going to be a big problem for us, but Garnacho has to play in there because he's the only pace outlet that we've got left in that attack. Bruno is going to definitely be playing there, and I want him to start from that left attacking mid side, because with Garnacho being on the right, at least you see him putting a lot more balls into the box. And at striker is going to be
Rasmus. But he did score at the weekend.
I think even he was shocked that he scored.
Yeah.
With the way that ball actually went through, the ball went in, his foot actually, started to move 3 seconds after the ball touched his feet. I think
I scored.
At this time, I just think even United players are just trying to hit him and deflect the ball off him for it to go to the
Do you remember that goal?
Net.
Actually, I don't know if it was against Luton or Villa. It was one of those teams. It was off the corner, and he kind of just like a shoulder.
It was Luton.
Luton won it, yeah.
Corner. Garnacho tried to actually, steady it. He went with a shot. It hit his elbow and went in.
Yeah, and he kind of just did that then, which was like an instinctive finish. So it just reminded me of that then. But hopefully you're praying if there's a purple patch that's going to come at the perfect time, it's right now. Please. Bruno Fernandes as well, interesting there. Go on.
There's only so many games left for him to turn on his purple patch.
It's true. It's going to be just a purple spot in it at this point rather than a purple patch. With Bruno as well, I thought he was a little bit... I know we still created quite a few chances and we're still putting the numbers against Bournemouth, but in terms of an overall performance, I didn't think he was great. So I hope he can raise that level because he has been incredible for us this season. So fingers crossed with that one. But yeah, that's both the team that me and Shreyas have gone with. If you guys would make any changes, then please do put it in the comment section and we'll get to him shortly. I think it's time for the... I just want to put, are they playing today? I'm confused. No, this is the preview for the game. The preview for... Yeah. If it was today, I'd look a lot more red in the face and a lot more nervous. We would play them on Thursday. But yeah, we usually do the preview a couple of days before it. So yeah. Højlund hat-trick incoming. My God, imagine the odds on that. Imagine the odds on that. Jesus.
He's got 3 goals all season.
Yeah. Madness. Score prediction. You go first.
I think it will be a 1-1 draw. 1-1 draw, 2-1 loss.
See, I like my draws, and usually I would go for a draw here.
If you go 1-1, that is the only way it happens.
I've gone 1-0 to them, and I think we take it back to Old Trafford. And maybe we get through at Old Trafford if we do that, but I think Athletic Club, it'd be a very tight game.
I don't see them smacking us. I genuinely don't.
No.
I think it will be very close because Amorim is not going to try and even attack them on the front foot.
It'll be Cager. And limited chances. And I think out of the two clubs, who's going to finish those limited chances is going to be Athletic Club. It's not going to be United. So I think they get a 1-0 lead and then we take it back to Old Trafford. And as you've seen this season, magic can happen, can't it? So they are the score predictions. Here are Bilbao injury levels, and it says he will be back early May. Well, early May, so that's like the next leg, isn't it?
Second leg, yeah.
Like a couple of days. It's early May. 15-4 all goals from Hoyland. Pundits keep throwing our bad league results to start an hammering out movement, whereas those who really watch football see that systematically we're better, and with the amount of injuries, we're not bad. I think there has been, and we can end on this because we've done our score predictions. I think there has been an improvement, or at least an identity. When we watch an hammering game now, or an hammering team, you know how he's going to set up. You know what the build-up patterns are. You know how we press or don't press. You know systematically how we're going to play. Under Ten Hag, a lot of times it was just chaotic, wasn't it? It was a whirlwind on a pitch, and God knows what would happen every single game. So there is a difference in terms of identity. But I think he needs tailor-made players in roles for it to really look effective.
Yeah.
And he hasn't got that, has he?
I think honestly, right now, he needs at least one attacker who knows what to do in that attacking third. Even if he has one player at least in that department who can actually score, it would look a lot better. That's why, he's absolutely in love with Cunha for a reason.
I think patterns as well. I'm seeing like in games where on the ball we've been much better. Just the positional rotations and but nothing's ever come from it, so it don't get remembered as a goal or a moment in a game. But I have seen moments like that, and they've only been moments, to be fair. It's not been sustained. At the back, I think we are more solid, but I think that's a given, kind of the fact that we're playing with a back five. And a lot of the times when we do get pinned back, it's hard to play against. It's really hard to break down. It's offensively where I think you can compare the numbers, and it's just factual that Ten Hag got more out of his thing offensively, because he was so wild and erratic and created chaos that we would get it out of those moments. But yeah, I think there's been improvement. I'm not going to really, really judge it until we see signings come in and next season. And Lumen's saying, aren't we chaotic under hammering? It's more mistakes, individual mistakes, I think.
Yeah.
Under Ten Hag, it was a wide open midfield. The attackers were so far away from there. The defenders were so low. There was just gaps everywhere. Whereas I think it's more Onana fucking up or strikers not.
It's more refined.
Yeah, I agree. Right. Look, there's been so many years involved for this preview, so I appreciate every single one of you. If you look above Shreyas' head on the left-hand side, there is a subscriber meter. Other side, Shreyas, you've done it again. There we go. There's 14,183 subs, so we're getting closer and closer to 15k. If you are new to the channel and you've appreciated this preview, smash that like button and subscribe, and drop us a follow on socials just below me on the right-hand side here. Instagram, Twitter. Instagram's doing really well at the minute. Loads of news posts, reels, transfer stories. Everything you want from United is over on that page, so go check it out. Twitter as well, and TikTok. Apart from that, we'll be back at 7 o'clock with a transfer show, because there's a load of stories floating about Manchester United. That'll be me, Sam, and Chive. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. There's a heat wave coming, and is that hammering travelling to Spain and scoring 2 or 3 goals with the United team? Let's see what happens.